The storm smashed the city so hard it was as if the sky wanted to break everything apart. On a cold, cracked sidewalk, a woman was curled up with a baby clutched tight against her chest, rain pouring so powerfully over them it looked almost cruel. That was when billionaire Daniel Cross saw her, right as his luxury sedan was racing toward the airport for the deal that would change his fate forever. Daniel had only 5 minutes to catch a flight that could make him richer than he'd ever dreamed. But something felt strange, like the world pushed a wall in front of him. He slammed the brakes. The car stopped, his chest pounding. That image, a trembling mother, a baby's desperate cries mixing with thunder, wrapped around his heart and refused to let go. What would you do if your whole future was waiting, but someone else was drowning right there in the street? Before we continue, let us know in the comments section what time is it and where are you watching from. And remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the story. Now let's continue. Daniel was famous, but not just for his money. People said he was a miracle maker, the man who turned broken pieces into gold. His hands built skyscrapers. His eyes could see profit where others saw ruin. He'd come from nothing, climbed alone, and everything he touched sparkled. Yet his life had changed when he fell in love with Emily, the only woman who understood the emptiness behind his smile. She gave him hope, and together they dreamed of starting a family, a dream crushed in the most heartbreaking way. Now, on his way to sign the biggest deal of his career, Daniel felt the old ache waking up inside him, the ache that made him empathetic but also afraid to stop. "Sir, we are going to miss the flight," his driver Chris said, voice urgent. Daniel stared at the woman. The entire city moved fast around them. Bus horns blared, umbrellas rushed past, water splashed everywhere, but nobody stopped. The world had turned invisible to this mother and her child. Memories of his own loss screamed in his head. 10 years ago, his Emily lay dying in a cold hospital bed, rain smashing against the window. He was powerless. He lost his wife, and the baby they both waited for never lived to see the world outside. "Stop," Daniel said. Chris hesitated. "We'll be late." "I don't care," Daniel whispered, and he meant it. Without another word, Daniel stepped into the rain. His clothes soaked instantly, the cold biting, but Daniel didn't feel anything. His world narrowed to only two people. He approached the woman slowly. "Are you hurt?" His voice was gentle, but shaking. The words felt unfamiliar after years of silence. She pulled herself over the baby, shielding her from the sky. "Just cold," she replied, her lips blue. "We have nowhere to go." Daniel crouched next to her. He took off his expensive coat, wrapped it around the baby, and pressed his thumb against the child's cheek. "What's your name?" Daniel asked. She hesitated. "Amy." "And the baby?" "Sophie." The baby's tiny hand grabbed Daniel's finger, and something deep inside Daniel began to break. Chris shouted again, "Sir, the flight!" Daniel ignored him. The rain painted the world gray, but somehow Amy's eyes glowed with hope, even through her tears. Daniel looked up at the sky, remembering how the universe had taken everything from him in a storm just like this. He had begged for help then, and nobody stopped. "You don't have to stay here," Daniel said. He scanned the street, desperate for anywhere warm. "Can you walk?" Amy nodded, but she looked so weak Daniel worried she'd collapse. He gently helped her stand. Her shoes had holes. She limped as they struggled towards a small store under a leaky awning. Inside, Daniel bought a towel, a bottle of warm milk, bread, and a thick blanket. He wrapped the baby, towel-dried Amy's hair, and handed her the milk.
For a moment she sat in stunned silence, unsure if this was kindness or a dream. "Why did you help us?" Amy finally whispered. Daniel glanced at her, eyes dark with memories. "Because I remembered what it felt like to be alone." They watched people outside, dry under umbrellas, never glancing at them. Amy clutched her baby, tears falling. Daniel felt an urge to protect her, stronger than any business deal he ever sealed. Chris appeared again. "Sir, please, we're running out of time." Daniel checked his watch. He was already late. "Get the car ready," he told Chris, then bent down to look at Sophie. The baby had stopped crying and dozed against Amy's chest. For a moment, Daniel just stared, feeling old pain mixed with new hope. He pulled out his phone, typed a quick message to his assistant. "Cancel my trip. I'll handle it later." Chris gasped. "Sir, you can't. That deal was worth—" "Some things are worth more." Chris nodded, silent. Daniel's mind spun with memories, rainy streets full of lost dreams.
Amy's story spilled out slowly. Her parents had died years ago, leaving her with nothing. She'd met a boy who promised her forever, but once she got pregnant, he vanished. Since then, every day was a fight. Begging under bridges, sleeping in doorways, keeping her baby alive with scraps. Daniel listened. Every sentence felt like glass scratching his heart. Treasured memories of Emily and the baby he'd lost tumbled in his mind. "You remind me of someone," he finally said, his voice thin. Amy barely felt real. "You look familiar too. Are you famous?" Daniel smiled, sad. "I used to be." Outside, the rain eased, but the street stayed slick with water. Daniel led Amy out, shielding her and the baby with his body. He saw his car parked nearby. He walked up, opened the passenger door, and searched the glove box. He found the key to his apartment, a quiet, furnished space nobody else used, with warm blankets and food waiting inside. He held out his car keys. "Take these. Drive yourself to this address. Inside you'll find everything you need. Stay as long as you want." Amy stared at the keys, taking a step back. "No, I can't. I'm a stranger to you." Daniel pressed them into her palm, firm. "You're not a stranger tonight. You're hope." Tears ran down Amy's cheeks. "Thank you. I wish I could repay you." Daniel shook his head. "Just promise me to teach Sophie kindness. The world needs more people like her." Amy hugged Daniel. They both cried, the kind that makes your chest ache. Chris started the car, ready to drive them, but Daniel turned, walking back towards the city alone. Amy watched from the window, tears blurring her view. She would never forget the way Daniel looked in the rain, not like a billionaire, but like a father who'd lost everything and chose to give away all he had left. As the car rolled away, Amy clutched the keys, hugging Sophie tight. For the first time in months, she let herself hope. Word spread quickly in the city. A billionaire missed his own flight, vanished into the rain, and gave everything away. Reporters scrambled for details, but Amy kept quiet. Daniel's kindness was their secret. In his empty apartment, Amy and Sophie slept through the night, dry, fed, and safe. Amy cried for hours, grateful and heartbroken, unsure why someone so rich had come to their rescue. The rain continued outside, but inside, Amy felt a warmth she'd never known. Daniel didn't go home. He wandered the city streets, soaking in every story he passed, people with secrets, sorrows, and dreams. He spent days visiting old places, remembering Emily and their lost child. Rain always reminded him of love, loss, and the promise he'd made never to turn away from pain. He gave away clothes, food,
shelter, and money to families he met. No cameras, no fame, just a man with a broken heart trying to heal others. Every good deed was a piece of redemption. A week passed. Amy was scared Daniel would change his mind, but each morning she found a new bag of groceries outside the apartment. No note, just quiet proof someone cared. Amy started looking for work, helped by Daniel's assistant, who never revealed his boss's identity. She found a job in a nearby cafe, making enough to buy small gifts for Sophie. Gradually, her pride and hope returned. She spoke with Sophie about kindness, and every night they prayed for Daniel, the man who saw them when nobody else did. Daniel followed Amy's progress quietly, never revealing himself. He watched from afar as Amy grew stronger, making friends and building a new life. Months later, Amy heard Amy had set up a little fund to help other struggling mothers in the city, a tribute to the night everything changed. His heart swelled with pride, remembering Emily's dream of helping those in need. One rainy evening, when Sophie was almost a year old, Amy decided it was time to thank Daniel. She wrote a letter filled with words she couldn't say in person. Thank you for hope, for freedom from the street, for saving not just a life, but her belief that good people still existed. She left the letter with Daniel's assistant, unsure if it would ever reach him. Weeks later, a simple envelope appeared at her door. In it, a picture. Daniel, smiling, surrounded by happy children at an orphanage he'd rebuilt. On the back, a message. Thank you for reminding me. Amy cried, holding Sophie close, certain their story was just beginning. 3 years passed. Amy finished her studies, got a better job, and moved into her own apartment. Sophie grew into a smart, strong child, the kind who always offered a hand to those who looked sad. On Sophie's birthday, Amy received an invitation. Daniel wanted her and Sophie to visit the orphanage he'd rebuilt. When they arrived, Sophie ran into Daniel's arms, hugging them like she always knew him. Daniel smiled through tears, telling stories of Emily and the kindness that always changes lives. Amy looked around and saw dozens of children smiling, laughing, becoming family. Amy started volunteering, teaching mothers how to rebuild hope from broken pieces. She never let anyone forget that kindness could be the key to everything. Daniel watched them, proud and peaceful, knowing he had found meaning beyond money and business. Rain fell again as Daniel stood by the orphanage window, watching Sophie draw pictures and Amy serve soup to children. For the first time since Emily died, Daniel felt whole. He realized the richest man is the one who lifts others out of the rain. Now, if you watched all this and felt something inside you, a piece of sadness, hope, or courage, maybe you know what it's like to be seen when the world ignores you. If you were Daniel, would you stop your car in the rain, risking your own success to give away the keys to hope? Or would you drive on, staying safe and dry, letting someone else fade away in silence? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe for more emotional stories that will move your heart. Let's build a community where kindness is always the answer, and every story can change someone's life. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe, because every week, new tales of hope and heartbreak drop here, inspiring all who believe in the power of compassion. Would you have given Amy the keys? Or do you think Daniel was crazy? Let's talk in the comments. And remember, someday it could be your turn to be Daniel in the rain.